Welcome back to Business Plus One, where I share about my business journey. And if you have always wanted to start a business, but you are concerned about the cost of starting up, then this video is for you. In this video, I will run through what are the costs to start a business, as well as some of the recurring costs that you will have to pay year after year, so that you are clear and transparent and fully aware of what costs you will need to incur when you're running a business. Do know that every business is different in nature and may have some different license fees, different costs of goods, and different fees that you have paid. So we are only talking about standard fees that every business owner has to pay year after year. And this sharing will be more towards the online services industry, where overheads are really low and the costs are at the minimal, which is very good for any beginners who are starting out an online business. But before that, you may have this question: why should you even start a business? I'll go through the reasons in my previous videos, but the three main important reasons are: number one, you can credit salary to yourself, which is very important when you're going out to apply for a loan, either for your property or other stuff, rather than self-employed income, which is considered inferior in the bank's eyes and may face a haircut on the eligible loan amount. Number two, there's separate legal entity, and that means separate liabilities as well. So you want to distance yourself away from the business. You are two entirely different entities. So you may close down the business, but your own wealth is preserved, which is very important. And number three are tax-related benefits when you own a business, be it from corporate income tax rebate or startup tax exemption. All this you will not enjoy if you are a self-employed or sole proprietor or even partnership, right? So be very important to be aware of these benefits that you have when you start a business. And if you want to join a money and business-minded community, join us at over 20,000 members in the Honey Money SG Telegram group to ask your questions right there. Now, moving on to the fees, let's start with number one, ACRA related fees. So ACRA is our accounting body in Singapore. It's the government statutory board that manages the entire Singapore companies, which means that every business has to be registered under ACRA, ACRA. And how much is this to register? Firstly, you will need to pay $15 to register your name to make sure that there is no clashes with other existing businesses. That is $15. And the other $300 has to be paid for the company registration. Note that this is a one-time cost and only charged on your registration. So subsequent years, you will not have to pay that $300 and the $15 thing. So in total, $315 for you to start your business to be registered in ACRA. But the other cost that you need to incur year over year, that is the corporate secretary service. Now for corporate secretary, this is a person or organization that will be your liaise between the government compliance and your company. So they will make sure that your company files the documents on time and make sure the financial reporting and all that stuff is reported on time to be compliant with the government board. So you can either hire a perm staff in your company to take care of this compliance matters, or you may outsource it to a service provider. Now for a small business like myself, I definitely has to outsource because I do not have the bandwidth and capacity to do the corporate secretarial services myself. And when I started this company, I went on Google to search on the most affordable corporate secretary service, and most of it come up to around $300 per year. So for the all-in cost, if you really want the DIY, that's $15 for name registration, $300 for the company registration, and $300 for the corporate secretary, total $615. Note that after the first year, you also need to pay $60 for annual filing service, and that is paid to ACRA. All these are government-related costs. But to be clear, the $60 is usually included in the corporate secretary service, so I won't count that. And if you want to look at an all-in cost, right, $315 for government board and $300 for corporate secretary service, total $615. That's what it takes to start a business. And fun fact, before I started this business, I actually registered as a sole proprietor. So here are some of the differences. Sole proprietor, you will still need to pay that $15 name registration fee, plus the fact that you need to pay $100 on your first year to carry out business as a sole proprietor. And after the first year, you will need to pay $30 subsequently every year. So this $30 is ongoing and recurring until you stop being a sole proprietor. So if you compare a private limited business, you only pay $300 one time. Whereas for a sole proprietor, you will need to pay $30 subsequently after the first year every year. And that is recurring, ongoing, never stopping until you stop being a sole proprietor. So you have to weigh that pros and cons, cost versus benefit, on whether it is better for you as a private limited company or not. So looking at this $615 cost to start a private limited business, is there a more cost-effective solution? And I guess there is, because I went online and searched for online reviews on Google, and Osome happened to came out as one of the top search results. So I went on to read a blog post about Osome services and even used the referral code to get some discount on incorporation service, because here's what it costs: $600 for the incorporation and the secretary package. This is what I paid out of my own pocket when I started my business in 2023. And 2 years later, in 2025, it is still the same price. But the good news is you can get 16% discount off the Osome incorporation package when you use my link here to sign up. And I'll tell you why I chose Osome. Osome's incorporation package will help you set up everything from name and company registration, including filling in the forms and every documentation. For the corporate secretary services, it includes filing of annual returns, holding annual general meetings, and other business compliance services. So you can really hand your business to them. But note that this $600 package does not include accounting, tax, and bookkeeping services. For that, you may opt in for a full compliance package at $1,390 all in. So as a new business owner, I guess your priority is really on the business strategy to grow your revenue, to expand your sources of income, and to increase your total addressable market. And not on these nitty-gritty details like admin stuff. You should really outsource all this work to Osome, which is what I did. And I guess as a new business owner, you must be pretty busy, right? Where you got time for all this admin work? Focus on the right priority. Alright, so check the link in description and start your incorporation journey with Osome. Now moving on, what happens after the first year? You will still need to continue paying some costs. Alright, other than the name registration and the company registration, you will still need to pay corporate secretary service, which is $300 per year. And after my first year, I continued using Osome for the essential secretary package. So to be clear, there is $300 for the essential secretary and $600 for the unlimited secretary. For essential secretary, it's really all a very basic function and services, but enough for you to be compliant. Unlimited is more like if you need to do a lot more changes, you want to issue dividends throughout the year, and you have a lot of corporate actions that you need your corporate secretary to file in to the government body, then yes, you may want to go for the unlimited secretary. But for small businesses like us, other than the first year when there's a lot of change because you're new, I guess the essential secretary $300 package is good enough for me, at least for myself. So you will need to assess your own business on whether you need the unlimited secretary or the essential secretary. Now, the third fee about starting a business is that you will need a company bank account, because you will need to separate your company finances versus your own individual finances. And that means company bank account, you will need to pay annual fee. And I know that there are already a lot of online banking solutions which are free, and I really recommend them if you want to start out as a small business. You don't want to pay so much fees. You could either start with UBIS, because you get a $50 bonus upon the sign up if you use the referral link, or you want to start with World First, which is giving $200 on new signups. These two online platforms do provide multi-currency accounts, so it's very good if you are receiving foreign currency and you want to convert it at a very competitive exchange rate. And the good thing about these online platforms is that not only they have multi-currency accounts, they also give you a free corporate card where you can get benefits like cashback on your corporate purchases, because you may not want to use a personal credit card for your business purchases to separate the accountability, and it gets very gray, like what is personal spending and what's business spending. Best to separate it out. But if you want to be more secure, you want to try local banks, but all this comes with a fee, I would really recommend UOB e-business account, which is like $35 per year. So if you're using UOB e-business account like me, note that the minimum average daily balance is at least $5,000 before they charge a fall below fee, which you probably don't want to pay. And it comes with free, fast, and pay now transactions in the form of rebates. So you'll pay first in this month and you'll receive your rebates in the next month. So technically, it is free in the form of reimbursement. In essence, for a lot of us content creators and sole proprietors where you are starting out as a self-employed, you may have this question on whether you should convert to a private limited business and starting your own company and start paying yourself a salary, right? So I'm sure you have a lot of questions, but I cannot answer them one by one. The only way I can do is sustainability is you can come and talk to me one-on-one on a consulting business call. I'll give you some business recommendations and how you should structure your company, including how you should pay yourself for better tax optimization. Alright, so you can click on this link if you want to get on the call with me. And I fully know that business and entrepreneurship advice is not relatable to many, so this video will have very low views. But I truly appreciate those of you who really want to watch this and you're on the crossroads of starting your own business. Then I hope it really helped you. And if you want me to do more business content, go and comment business plus one. So to wrap it up, what are the costs of starting a business? $315 for just ACRA related costs. Like you want to set up your company, you want to register the name and be registered in ACRA Book of Records, then yes, that's $315. That is if you DIY. But if you incorporate it with Osome, you can just get a total package price of $600, inclusive of both the incorporation and the corporate secretary. So really, it doesn't make sense for you to do it yourself because the costs are around the same. In fact, it is even cheaper if you use my referral link and get the 16% off discount. Then for corporate bank account, if you look at those free options, you don't have to pay, but those local banks, you will need to pay after the first year. $35 is the lowest I can find with UOB. Note that all these do not include all the licensing, cost of goods sold in whatever industry you are in, because some industries you may need like a safety license, a food license, and whatever license that you may need. And of course, does not include rental, inventory, and other costs of goods sold, because all these are relative to your business and what you operate. So if you want to look at the base cost for online services business, you can look at what is my example here. It's only like $300 per year running cost for corporate secretary, excluding your wages, of course. So really, my very simple business advice is as long as you can keep your costs low, you can really focus on revenue generation, right? Keep your costs low, start online, don't have too much upfront fixed costs that you will have to contribute and invest in. Before you even start earning money, you start losing money already. Don't do that, all right? Focus on minimizing your costs and maximizing your revenue. And if you want to know my 2-year reflections after starting out my business in 2023, you can check it out in this video right here.